Good morning.
Morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. Enjoying the sunshine that we've got. Be nicer to be out on the water, sort of taking people on activities, but such as the world at the moment, we get to enjoy the sunshine from our gardens, which is better than the rain, I guess.
Yeah, we've not got sunshine up here. It's cloudy. It's full on cloudy, so not great.
Send some sunshine from the south coast, I know.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this. What I wanted to do is just I've been kind of reflecting and thinking a lot about obviously the current situation that we're in at the moment, and as a business, just how valuable kind of the coaching that I've had over the years has been. And we've just started working together, and I just thought it was an opportunity to kind of have a bit of a conversation about coaching, the value of it in terms of new businesses, because I know that's kind of where you're looking to work, in terms of kind of the teams and coaching, and then also just how it's now is the time, if anything, to have a coach to kind of help you through it. So that was kind of the purpose of kind of these sort of conversations, because it's I've benefited massively from coaching over the last few years, and some of our conversations have been so valuable in terms of little light bulb moments. It's like, okay, well, let's just talk about it, see where it goes, and go from there, really. So do you want to kind of just introduce yourself and just say how you kind of got into coaching, kind of go from there?
Okay, so my name's Sam Sutton. I guess I've coached for seems like forever, really. I mean, when I was in my late teens, sort of 18, 19 years old, I was lucky enough to have a kitchen porter job at a local activity centre, and it was one of the first activity centres to get a ropes course built on site. And a ropes course, for those that don't know, is effectively, it's a climbing facility, but instead of climbing walls, people climb trees. And the idea of a ropes course, this is long before the likes of Go Ape and sort of commercialisation of it. It was about personal development. It was about giving people a challenge and giving them the tools to overcome that challenge, because there was, when you do a ropes course, the actual risk is virtually zero, if not zero. You are tied to a safety harness and you're climbing up a tree that, maybe takes you to 20, 30, 40 foot high. However, the perceived risk is very high. When you're stood on a pole balancing 30 foot in the air, you certainly don't feel safe. And I found a lot of value from helping people and coaching people through those experiences. That was quite transformative for me, and it gave me a kind of deeper purpose. At the time, I was doing a degree that wasn't really firing me up, and I transferred off of that degree course to an outdoor activity degree, which was outdoor studies, which people might say, oh, it wasn't a proper degree, you were just messing around in the mountains. I did it in the Lake District, which was wonderful. But actually it was about using the outdoors as a learning tool, as a teaching tool. The idea is that when you put somebody into a situation like a ropes course, when you put someone into an environment that stretches them and challenges them, the kind of real them comes out, because they haven't got the kind of normal, not wearing their normal mask, it kind of unravels them a little bit. And by having a powerful experience, a profound experience, people are able to reflect a little bit more deeper on who they are. And as I got into the course in the Lake District, I really got a passion for whitewater kayaking. I got massively immersed into paddle sports. And I've always got this thing, I want to share something with others. And because I had these ropes course experiences, I basically set about becoming a paddle sport coach and a kayak coach. And that led me into my first business, Liquid Logistics, brought me back down to the south coast of England to build a brand which was about coaching people and getting people and helping them to discover a new sport. And I suppose that, that was, 20 plus years ago now, that kind of original idea and that original spark back in the early 2000s. And coaching for me has evolved from that point. So, as my business grew, I found that I was coaching my staff and I was coaching my team, and we did a lot of work with young people, like with the Prince's Trust. So we kind of coached them through life experiences, coached them through going from, a bunch of young people that don't know each other to a team that can actually go and produce some results down the line. So to evolve into kind of a team coach or a personal development coach to a business coach kind of felt natural as that experience kind of came through me, once I was a competent kayaker, I could confidently teach other people. And now that and I guess I've had a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's taken me 20 years to say, yes, I am a successful and a confident business person. But, now that I can, say that and I'm happy with that, then I'm now in a position to kind of coach and sort of guide others. Because I've got a real quest for knowledge and a quest for answers. And by getting answers, you get more questions. So you kind of go further and further down the rabbit hole. Yeah. And I kind of want to report back now and help others and guide them through it, really. So that's probably a not so brief intro of how I got into coaching.
So, I think what's really valuable is the fact that you've been through it. Like you are a business owner, and that you've been through it, and you're still going through it, aren't you, to some degree. So yeah, it's super valuable. So, for anybody that hasn't had a coach before, what is coaching? Like what? Yeah.
Coaching is, for me, standing on the shoulders of giants. It's about finding people, mentors, guides that have been where you are or have done what you want to do. And that can actually work in a peer-to-peer, because not only is it about absorbing information from people that have done it before and been there, it's about sharing what works. And I have a coach because I understand the value of a coach. I've been through coaching programs and continue to be on coaching programs, because it's when you're inside your own head and you're inside your own world, you get that perspective, right? But when somebody looks at it from the outside, they actually it's a lot easier for them to be objective. And they can ask the questions that you haven't been able to ask of yourself. And when you get asked those questions, it forces you to dig deeper into your value system. It teaches you to sort of dig deeper into the who and the why and also the what. And it's just the valuable. It's, take an Olympic athlete, right? If you're the fastest swimmer in the world, well, who could teach you to be a better swimmer? And yet they all have coaches.
Yeah.
Because it's that external verification, it's that external observation that people need. And coaching in itself is an art form. It's that ability to observe, listen, and then just at the right moment provide, normally it's the right question, more than anything else, because if it comes from inside that person, it's powerful. Whereas if it's telling, it doesn't work. It doesn't have the same resonance. And teaching and coaching, they are similar, but actually a really good teacher will actually be more of a coach than a teacher. The days of writing on a blackboard and teaching facts really should be dead. We've got Google now for that. We've got the internet. We've got the sum total of all human knowledge at our fingertips.
Yeah.
It's actually about getting kids to ask questions. Why, what, giving them stuff to go out and research. And that's what a good coach will do. It will get people to think and find their own answers to the sort of deep questions. Because coaching it's not just about, making money, because some of the, Tony Robbins talks a lot about this. Some of the most successful people on the face of this earth that have got every single monetary thing that you can imagine are actually often deeply unhappy, because there's another area of their life that has, because they focus so much on getting the money, they've missed out on maybe their relationships, or they've missed out on their family, or they've missed out on their own growth because they were focused on the business. And coaching, good coaching, is about the whole system of that person and about their real values. And yes, it will be about helping people make money, but actually it's more about fulfillment and, achieving a life well lived, really, if that kind of makes sense. So, I can't, like I said, as a coach, I still have coaches and still look to others for input. And, I think anybody that says they're a coach and doesn't do that is kind of missing the point. I think it's absolutely important. So if you've never had a coach before, I think you'll find that you probably have. When you actually, who's the person that has asked you that question that's made you think? It could be your best friend. It could have been a parent. It could have been a colleague. My staff sometimes can coach me by asking me something that I haven't thought about.
Yeah.
So coaches are kind of it's almost it's a state of mind rather than a thing, if that makes sense. I think everybody's had a coach. It's just they might not have realized the value in in paying for one or seeking one sort of directly and giving it that term. But you know, coaching's about helping each other, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sometimes that's people's conception or kind of misconception, is that coaches kind of tell you what to do all the time, and you know, but it's not. It is like you say, it's asking the right questions at the right time and getting you to realize and to go, oh, okay, yeah, and then change, you know, to work on that yourself as well. So it's and that's where the kind of the power comes in, isn't it? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you say is your kind of style of coaching? I know you're sort of very much into kind of team, but also, yeah, kind of starting at the beginning with kind of the values, and you know, we did a really interesting kind of the 7 levels deep, didn't we? And that. So yeah, what's kind of your style?
So I guess as a metaphor, I like the paddle sport idea. So coaching people down whitewater rivers. Now, it's actually not so much about coaching the skill. In the moment of getting somebody safely down a rapid, it's about mindset and it's about focus. And it's about, you know, looking ahead and being totally present. So for me, my style of coaching is more about it's the values, you know, as we did with the 7 level leagues. It's going like, you know, why is it that you want to do the thing that you're doing, Joe? You know, we can talk about skill sets, but if you haven't got a real desire to learn a skill, then the skill itself is not the thing. I mean, I've taken very, very competent kayakers at the top of a rapid, but because their focus is on how they're going to possibly make a mistake or how it could go wrong, or, you know, the bad things that could happen to them, they go to pieces. Whereas, you know, you get someone that's on paper a very poor technical ability, because they're super confident, they just paddle down the bottom and they just make it through. And for me, it's about mindset. You know, I would always focus on that first, because if you've got somebody in a place where they are motivated and driven and confident, and it's coming, I don't sound cliche, but it's coming from the heart. You know, it's coming from like the whole body's in alignment, the whole system. You know, that's why I think that mission vision is really, really clear. You know, when we get someone on a rapid, it's about, you need to know exactly where you want to be at the bottom and trace back from that point. So in business, it's the same. It's like, what's your vision? What's your mission? Because we're going to trace back from that point to where you are now and then go forward. So coaching has to be about something deeper than the skill. You know, that's part of it, but it's more the deeper bit. Because if someone's really engaged and they want it really badly, then it's actually, the job as a coach becomes a lot easier. Because you're just kind of helping them towards the point that they know is clear and they really want to get to. If someone's woolly with what they want to do, and it's like, I just want to make a bit more money, or just want to do, it's like, well, there's many ways to do that, and then it's actually a lot harder to guide them, because they're potential over the show. They've got a shiny object over there, grab that. Whereas if the mission's clear, the focus, which is, you know, everything largely is about focus, is a lot more laser clear, really. So I guess my style of coaching is very much about values, beliefs, and the sort of deeper part of what makes somebody them and their identity and where they want to go through. And in terms of my advice and what's right for them, that has to be elicited from them.
Yes.
You know, I can't tell them what's right for them. I can just, my role is to ask the questions to allow them to sort of really draw it out. And I think sometimes, you know, particularly if we think about our relationship, actually, when it gets tough, that's the moment you need to go back to those first tasks where you did look at your values and you looked at your mission and the why behind what you're doing. And that's something people need to do regularly, you know, 6 months, you know, every year for sure. Just check your values are still there, because things do change and our values do evolve as we get older, and our values do evolve as we have experiences. So, you know, what were your values 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago might actually be very different now. And it's, you know, so we just need to make sure that we're still going in the right direction and that everything's aligned.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. And I think sometimes you that kind of vision, or somebody that feels that they just want to make loads of money, or they want to whatever goal it is. Sometimes that's not the goal. It's when you work through, it's like actually it's about recognition, which then goes back to there's always an element of almost therapy, isn't there, kind of going back to actually why that core value and belief is there or not there. And for me, that's the kind of like those super powerful moments when you go, yeah, it's not about that, it's about that other thing. And once I've sorted that out, that's going to push me forward, because I know it's not relevant, or it's not something I need to think about anymore, like type thing. And they're the super powerful bits, aren't they? So
and I guess in terms of the I guess but I'm sort of tapped into the abundance community, which is this idea that there's the growth of technology, and the exponential growth of technology is and will continue to lead to an abundance in terms of wealth and access to resources. Humans are going to create massive abundance, and there's this idea, this massive transformative purpose. Instead of being a mission, it's this thing: what do you want to do that's going to be massively transformative for others? Not just yourself. And if you think about the world's most powerful businesses, so your Googles and your Apples, their visions were not about making money. That's just happened to come. Google wanted to sort and organize the world's information, and that was their stated aim. Facebook wanted to connect people. That was their stated aim. Apple's was about making things simple, making complex technology really simple. This is something that Simon Sinek talks about a lot in his book, Just Cause. It's not enough nowadays to have a kind of, this is our vision and this is our kind of thing. It's got to be a just cause. It's got to be something that is actually more emotive and potentially unachievable ultimately, because that infinite game idea, you've got to keep going. I mean, Google want to sort the world's information. Well, that's never going to be done. That job is never going to be finished. You can never say, I've done it now, because there's going to be more information. It needs more sorting, and you're going to go from so they will evolve from they're in the business of search, but they're going to be an AI company. They're going to be, that's what they're going to be. They're going to be AI. And the question is it going to be Google, Facebook or Amazon that produce the first kind of real AI, I guess? I know I'm a bit off topic now, but I'm quite passionate about that. But the whole point is it's got to be about a deep vision and a deep mission and a big purpose. And okay, at a scale of an organization like Google, that's great, but actually that needs to be about us as people as well. We need to have our moonshots. We need to have, as entrepreneurs particularly, we need to be very focused on doing something that is our legacy and is going to live beyond us. And when you dig deep, I mean, for me this morning, I did a little post on this for my LinkedIn, but actually for me, it's about providing, not for my family, it is about providing for my family in terms of, a physical safety net and in terms of financial security, but actually it's about a legacy in terms of knowledge and about growth and about, that's really what we are all leaving our children, and the generations, is about, what did the early 20th century, what were the people of influence doing then? How were they setting up the future? How are they setting up the kids? Because that's, we are all the children of the past, aren't we? We all pick up on the legacy of past generations, for better or worse. And I think that's really what people should be, certainly for me, I focus on, is the legacy that I'm leaving for my children, in terms of my attitude as much as anything else. A bit off tangent, I know, but I'm kind of really passionate about that side of things. And it's about that big picture, right? As a coach, we've always got to be helping people to understand the big picture. And some people don't need coaches because they're not thinking like that. That's the for me, it's quite sad, but that is the reality. Is not everybody is of a growth mindset. A lot of people are going to be buffeted along by the waters of their lives. They're just going with the flow, but possibly not. They're sometimes fighting it. And, there are people that want coaching and need it. But they're not always the same sometimes, and actually some of the biggest impacts I've had are people that didn't even know they needed a coach, but because they were accidentally on the youth development program, or they were part of a Prince's Trust course, they've taken away something really profound from that.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of one of the highs of being a coach, isn't it? And there's seeing those moments that people get the value, that you can't, you can't, I'm trying to think of the words, but it's amazing to see that within somebody else, that kind of light bulb moment, and then know that you've helped them to get somewhere and to realize, whether it be their own strength, their own, whatever that may be, but that's, an amazing high, isn't it, of being a coach and helping others. Yeah. So in terms of like the current situation, how do you think coaching and kind of coaching programs is helping businesses? Because for me, it's like a no-brainer, because we can't do it alone, and that's the whole. Certainly, as a business owner, of a small business, and I think that's one of the other valuable things is you don't have somebody else necessarily to bounce those ideas around, and just oh my God, what do I do? So because I know you're quite passionate about the moment, the situation.
Yeah, I can't remember. I saw this story, but there was this. Someone saw, and it's not mine. I'm not going to pretend it is, but the idea. If you imagine you went to a dinner party and you met the survival expert, so like a Bear Grylls guy, and he sort of told you about like, I do these courses, I help people survive in the wilderness, and we do all this stuff, and we if people are in desperate help, I give them the tools to survive. And you go, that's all very nice, and you kind of forget about it, and it's not really a thing I'm into right now. I can't see why I'd have a business coach. And then on the way home from that dinner party, you're out in the rural area, sometime out in the countryside, and you have a car accident, you have a crash, and you're stranded, a little bit injured, but you're okay, but you're stuck miles from nowhere, and you're kind of at your wit's end, you're desperate, and out pops this chap, this Bear Grylls. Like, oh hey, I'm a survival expert, do you maybe want a bit of help? And you turn to him and say, you know what, now I'm actually, once I get out of this mess, we can have a chat about maybe how you can help me, but I'm just going to try and do this alone. And he's like, hang on a minute. And that's what it is now. There's business coaches out there, there's people that can help business owners, but a lot of them are going, no, I can't afford it right now. I don't need help right now. Let me just deal with it. It's like, hang on, this is when you need the help, right? You've just had a car crash. You've just had a disaster. Your business is closed, or you've lost all your customers, and you're telling me that you need that sometime in the future when things are a little bit better. It's so you can tell I'm passionate about. Right now is actually when people need the help, and it doesn't have to be a paid coach. Obviously I would encourage that as somebody that can help and will charge for it. But it's just about speaking to your family, speaking to your friends. But actually you actually do want someone that's been there and can feel the pain, because they'll be sorry for you and, oh, isn't it terrible? But you do actually want to surround yourself with networks, and there are, there's a whole load of, and I know we're both tapped into these kind of groups, but there are groups of people, business owners, getting online, Zoom calls, Facebook groups now, and they're just sharing ideas and sharing the load. And, at least do that. If you're not going to commit and pay for a survival expert to help you survive, then at least, find somebody else that's also crashed their car and see if you can work out how to get it out of it together, really, because from my business has had a car crash. It's been absolute blooming disaster for New Forest activities. The last, we've had to close. We've lost probably best part of 50% of our turnover. I can't see us getting back this year. But I'm still paying someone to coach me, because my emotions and my concern about the business will get in the way of me making actually rational decisions. So having somebody out there to reflect back on me and say, no, it's all right. You just need to, these are the steps you need to take. And it allows clarity. And my 5 and 10 year goals have not changed.
No.
Certainly my next 18 months, 2 years has, but not in terms of the values, not in terms of the core mission, yes, the cash flow situation's changed. Yes, I'm going to have to make some decisions around how I staff my business and how I resource my business. But there's a load of government assistance out there. There's some very attractive finance available. There's some very cheap borrowing. And if you're, and this is what I'm really passionate about, if you're a business owner that understands your numbers, if you can know how much, what your cost per acquisition is and what your average customer value is, if you understand that kind of thing, then you can put some of these loans into advertising and into marketing and actually create some fairly big returns. Because Facebook ads are really cheap right now because people have stopped. Google's really cheap right now. People have stopped. The amount of attention that you can get on social media is massive because people are at home. I know this is going to date this interview a little bit, but that is the fact.
Yeah.
And yet there's so many business owners that are like, just almost like they're just stopping and taking a break and I'll get back to it when I can open. It's like, no, now is the time to act. Sort your systems out, sort your processes out, sort your marketing out. There's so much work that you can do now, and your staff as well. Okay, they're furloughed, but they can train. They can train, facilitate that, help them and say, look, and this is the bottom line, you might go from a team of 10 to a team of 5. So it's like, well, I want the staff that have done the most training and have shown the most willing will be the ones that will sort of come back. I mean, it's a bit of tough love, but that's probably the bottom line. So again, you can tell I'm passionate about it, but when the going gets tough, that's when you need a coach.
Yeah.
My kayakers, they're all right floating around on flat water, but it's when they're above that grade 4 rapid that they need that little bit of advice, that little bit of, focus normally, look where you want to go, paddle hard. That's when they need that input. When it's, a nice sunny day and it's a flat, calm day, yeah, we can help them with their coaching, technically get them a little bit better, but the real impact comes when they're stretched and when they're challenged.
Yeah.
So I think, it does blow my mind a little bit that people say, no, I'm all right now, when clearly they're not, and they do need it. And lots of people, I mean, Tony Robbins and Dean at the moment, they're doing a big challenge, which is free. It's a free 7-day thing where you could just absorb information from, 2 of the greatest coaches on the planet.
Yeah.
And lots of coaches are doing that because people are switching off and going, I don't need coaching right now because I haven't got any money. So actually lots of coaches are actually giving away lots of really, really valuable stuff for very, very, cheap financial amounts of money, because they want to help. I want to help people. I've got a Facebook group where I'm helping. I'm providing lots of value. All people need to do is join in. And that's coming from, that's what the everybody's doing. And so, it's, people think you haven't got to pay money, but you have got to dedicate time.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And there's so much great stuff out there at the moment. And there's one thing I've been super proud of my team of doing is just, I don't think, even though some of them are furloughed, it's, they're learning continuously. They're signing up to courses. They're on every webinar that they can get onto. And it's, that's, learn from everybody else. And it's been amazing. And I think the first few weeks I just certainly felt like I was just a sponge of like taking everything in, and it has got to the point now where I'm not sure my brain can take much more, because it's you need that time to then action, because it's like you can take all this stuff in, but then it's like, right, I need to almost clear a day where I can just go through my notebook and action like all of these things. Because otherwise it's not what there's no point, is there? It's great learning it, but you need to be able to implement it. Like
that is a really, really good point, and I've seen that in myself, because I've been like, right, getting on that group, that's now free. There's something I was tinkering around with, get on that, and like you say, knowledge is nothing if you don't apply. Knowledge is nothing unless you actually do. And sometimes clients that I've noticed this in myself, when I sometimes getting coached, I can be quite hard, because I thought I did. Oh, can I know that? Yeah, I know. I can see what you're doing there. And that is the worst, because someone that thinks they know it is not open to listening. And if you think you know it and you're not listening, then you're going to miss out on the bits, because we can all grow. And you are 100% right. There's so much knowledge to absorb. We need to be mindful of actually doing, because there could be something really simple that might just take half an hour that could have a massive impact on our business and on our lives. But by doing another course, we missed the thing that we could have done and applied off the last one. So you are right. And I think that's where you could almost say, when your team come back to like, right, no more learning for a little bit, what we're going to do, all those notes, all those notepads that you've got, all those, spreadsheets or whatever it is that we've pieced this knowledge together, let's actually now make an action plan and do it. And then once we've done it, we'll then look for the next course and the next step. And I'm kind of probably, they say the best advice that you give is normally for yourself, isn't it? So this is certainly something that is for me as well. It's make those to-do lists, get those checklists done, and apply the stuff you've learned, because otherwise the knowledge becomes, it's just something out there that you've learned. It's not something that's actually been actioned. Exactly. Application is everything.
Exactly. You mentioned Tony Robbins there. So in terms of like your kind of coaching idols, the people that you look to, who are they, and kind of what recommendations for books, things like that people can.
Gosh, okay. So I mean, Tony, I must admit, I came across him back in there. He was one of my earliest I guess authors that I kind of really dove into. So I did an NLP course with a local guy actually back in the day when I was at Avon Tyrrell and I did my apprenticeship. And he said, if you want to go deeper, read these two books, which were the Robbins books. And I mean, they are the core text really of applied NLP. I mean, obviously the Erickson stuff and the Bandler, Grindler, and even Dilt stuff before that is very good, but it's very technical. Certainly around the language patterns and the hypnotic stuff that's in there. And actually Robbins' was more of a practical handbook. But to be honest, as I moved away from him, I just kind of probably didn't really follow what he was doing for the next, few, decade plus really. It's only recently that I've picked back up on some of his work. I think he's got this kind of infamous, the Netflix documentary about his work. And I've just gone to tap back and say, I wonder what he's doing now, a couple of decades later. And he's doing some really interesting stuff, actually. He's actually building an AI version of himself, which I was like, hang on a minute, that's kind of straight up my... Yeah, so he's basically, all of his interventions, all of his recordings, hundreds of thousands of hours worth of him coaching is being uploaded into a neural net. And that neural net is basically processing that. And effectively, he's trying to have something that becomes him. So in 2, 5, however many years it takes for him to develop this thing, on your smartphone, there'll be a Tony Robbins coach. So you can literally ask him a question, but it won't be him, it'll be an AI, but it'll be him stuff. There's a free interview you can get on the abundance thing. He talks to Peter Diamandis about this. So it's him, Musk and Peter are all building AIs of themselves, which is fascinating. So I was like, this is interesting. So obviously, he has been an influence so far. I guess I bounce from sort of books to books. So I kind of read one book, and then if they cite certain authors, I'll read another one. But I am pretty much in on the Sam Harris's work at the moment. I've got his app, the Waking Up app, and I've been following his podcast for the last 3 or 4 years. And his model of the world I really do have affinity with, which is effectively deeply Eastern in terms of spiritual kind of ideas, so massively about meditation. But he is effectively an atheist, although that term's a bit of a weird thing to use, and kind of, because he's not technically, well, he is an atheist in the fact that he's one of the Dawkins kind of crew, but actually he's massively into meditation and Eastern philosophy. Which is kind of, most people think, well, that's a contradiction, but actually it's not if you look at the science behind meditation and mindfulness and that sort of practice. So I'm kind of really a fan of his work, and that really informs what I do, as it does the Abundance Community, which is the guy that runs the X Prize, Peter Diamandis, and obviously the tech. You've got Ray Kurzweil, who's head of engineering at Google. His work's really fascinating. As well as the entrepreneurs, the Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and, the Google founders, kind of their stories are really, really interesting as well. And I guess in terms of business leadership as well, I really like Simon Sinek's work. His kind of, the kind of whole stuff on leadership and entrepreneurial kind of, it's care, like it's entrepreneurial, but it's about the deeper stuff and leading with a passion rather than just trying to make a fast buck. And, I think his work is really influential. But I mean, I'm self-confessed addicted to kind of knowledge. So, I mean, I could just go for a whole library of, but anybody that's written anything that's remotely powerful in terms of personal development, I read a lot of popular science. I'm kind of, a lot of the kind of books on physics and how the world works I'm into, and also anything about futurism as well. So kind of, it's hard to say I've got the odd guru. Just basically, for me, there is a mass of people that are pushing the envelope of human knowledge. And I'm just trying to pick up as much as I can from that group, be it through their podcasts, be it through their books. I mean, Gary Vee is a very interesting character when it comes to entrepreneurial, like the hustle and getting stuff done. And, his message you could probably sum up in a couple of paragraphs, but he's got hours and hours and hours of content where he just kind of basically puts out the same stuff, which is like, get on with it, ignore others, do it. I mean, it's a bit more nuanced than that, but he's a very interesting character. And I find that I kind of find a person, follow them for a bit, and then find somebody else, follow them for a bit, and then come back and just, because for me, it's about augmenting it all. It's taking all this stuff, and because there's so much similarity in it, what one guru says over here is very similar to what another guru over here says. There's definitely patterns. And that's the whole point, isn't it? It's patterns of excellence, patterns of, what is it that makes people get the results that they get? That's the bottom line of it. And it's the patterns that are interesting. So, I mean, I've just come across Ray Dalio's work, he's the hedge fund investor. And his book Principles is fantastic. I've never heard of him before. Tony Robbins said, this is a book that I'm reading right now. So I was like, okay, I'll read that. And then he sends you off down another rabbit hole and you read that book. So, it's difficult. I mean, for me, I think if people are starting out, they want to go for something that's effectively one of the more popular, easier to digest books. I mean, Mark Manson's stuff is really good on just dealing with your own head. It's written very much, I mean, his language is very coarse and very, abrupt, but his message is like really profound, and it's very easy to read his books. You can pick it up and get through it in a day or two. Whereas that idea, Derren Brown's picked up on his book Happy, but you've got to be prepared to put a bit more work because it's a bit more of a thicker tome. Then if you enjoy that, then, you can go deeper and deeper down the sort of rabbit hole, really.
And the term rabbit hole is exactly right, because I'm exactly the same. Like, I think I've got 3 books on Audible at the moment that I'm reading, plus actual books that I'm reading. And you do, and then you talk to a coach, or you talk to someone that they're reading something, and it's like, right, I need to add that to the list. And you just, but like you said, the principle, it all comes back to, I think, your core why, doesn't it? And your values and your principles, and why you want to do something, because you have to get that right and really understand what your purpose is, and that, and they all come back to that, don't they? So, and
I mean, my four sort of attitudes that are really important for people to cultivate, that really help. And the first one is gratitude. That idea that no matter what is going on, we've all got something to be grateful for. And gratitude it's no strange things that any personal development guru will say you need to practice gratitude every day. Whether it's writing a list or just feeling it experientially or whatever it is, gratitude is, the kind of core to moving away from dissatisfaction, because it's not dependent on anything. I can be grateful for the meal I had last night. I can be grateful for my family being around me. I can be grateful that no one I love is currently sick, and that's not dependent on a future state. It's very much about now and being present and very grounded. Responsibility is the second one. So, take responsibility for what happens to you. Act as if it's your responsibility. If somebody takes something the wrong way, then it's your responsibility to change your communication. It's not their fault. you know, and it's not saying that is objectively true. It's just acting as if and taking responsibility for what happens to you. You know, your life is what you've created. You know, you're not a victim. You are someone that can actually influence the outcomes and can drive things forward. The other attitude is passion, because whatever you do, you've got to do it with ounce and ounce and just get out there and do it. You've got to be passionate about it. I mean, I could never do a job that I didn't like. I couldn't do work that was, because it's like it's 8 hours out of every day. You know, and the only reason I can see anybody would ever do that is if they are, maybe you're an Olympic athlete, right? Or you've got something that is, you're absolutely passionate about. So I know people that are obsessive climbers, mountain bikers, kayakers, and they'll do what you would consider a crappy job, because they will do that for the summer and then they will ski all season, all winter. Or they'll, you know, they'll travel the world doing crappy jobs because they get to paddle the biggest rivers or climb the most exciting walls. You know, but then as they get older, they tend to go, actually, I want to start giving back. And they, surprise, normally become coaches. So, you know, because they've got something now to give back in their passion area. And then the final thing is, so those three things, responsibility, passion, and gratitude, are kind of, it's about you internally and having that. The final attitude is about kindness. And this is a Gary Vee thing, right? You know, no matter what happens to you, react from a place of kindness. You know, if somebody's like, oh, having a go at Twitter or, you know, whatever, it's like, have empathy and be kind, because like that will overcome it. And they are, whatever's happened in their lives, their whole life, we've all got a story. Everything that's ever happened to us is building up to the point where we express it now. You know, whatever's happened in their lives that's led to the point where they're having this angry thing on Facebook, have empathy for that. Because if you'd had that life, that would probably be you and on that keyboard. You know, let's not pretend that you are different from them ultimately. And if we can all see that and understand that, then we can be kind to one another. And that is key. And if you put kindness out, surprise, surprise, tends to come back.
Kindness back, yeah. No, I think that's something that I'm quite conscious of, is every kind of action and reaction, I guess. I always kind of think, is what I'm doing, does it come from a place of kindness and love? And most of the time it's yes. Well, probably, yeah. And it's like always having that in the mind of, actually, would a person who is responding out of kindness and love act that way or say that? And it's, if it's no, then it's like, well, don't do it then. Like, no need.
And I think the overriding thing for this piece, and this is one of the things that I teach, you've got those 4 attitudes, but the overriding thing is observing yourself. And that's where the mindfulness comes in, because in the moment when you shout at your kid, like, you didn't mean to do that. You don't want to do that, but you have. Yeah. And mindfulness is about noticing, oh, isn't it interesting that I'm angry right now? Yeah. And then just by having that interrupt, that pattern interrupt, you've now diffused the anger. It's like, you know, you have a choice. So I'm angry right now. Well, how long am I going to hold on to that for? Am I going to hold on for another 10 seconds? Or am I going to let it ruin my whole day or week? And if you practice meditation, if you practice mindfulness, it's not about the 10 minutes every day. It's actually about catching yourself in the moment, acting as a way that you feel is not you. And I've just shouted at my kid, right, hang on, actually, that's, and then actually fix it and notice it and letting go is the, you know, it's the Buddhist thing. You just let it go. You know, how long are you going to hold anger? How long are you going to hold jealousy? How long are you going to hold angst? You know, it's a choice. We can choose to hold on to it for ages and nurture it and let it burn us up and destroy us, or we can just let it go. And it's a practice. It's a skill. You know, it's like, if you want to get fit, then you run, you cycle, you do activities. If you want to get good at letting go of negative emotions, then you need to practice mindfulness, and you need to practice letting go of negative emotions, because the more you do it, the better you get. And nobody's perfect. I don't think there's anybody, you know, maybe apart from the most deepest studious Zen monks that have literally done nothing but just let everything go. But for us, we have to exist in the real world where we've got families and mortgages and businesses and staff, and you know, we're never, and emotions are what makes us human. It's energy moving. That's humans are energy moving. So mindfulness is actually about noticing it and noticing that our thoughts are running away, and actually, oh, that's interesting. I'm thinking about that. Oh, where's that? And just paying attention more than anything else. And that for me is a big thing that comes into my coaching, because it's like Alan Watts said, making plans for the future is of no benefit to someone that cannot live in the present. Because any future state, no matter how good it is, it's going to be present. And this is why, being present now allows you to enjoy what you've got. So if you can't enjoy what you've got now, you're not going to enjoy the future, because you're always going to be looking forward. So I want people to help now understand where they are, be grateful, and then we can, because the future is going to be really exciting. It's going to be a roller coaster ride for all of us. Whether we have more pandemics or whatever we have, but it's going to be a ride, and life is like that. Life has ups and it has downs, and but being present is the bit that's consistent in all of that. You're always with your own thoughts. You can't get out of your own head. You always take you with you. No matter where you go on holiday, you've always got to take you with you. So to be very comfortable with who you are and to be happy in the present is for me, it's the kind of, it's the meaning of life for me. It's the secret. You need to be comfortable now with who you are, because all future states are dependent on that, because they're going to be exactly the same. They're just going to be in the future.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And that's a really nice way to kind of round it up as well. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Where can people find out more about you and what you do?
So my, day-to-day business, New Forest Activities, is, what me and my team are doing. We create outdoor activities, and we've got more, we want people to have fun, but there's a deeper meaning to it. So we do a lot of work with businesses. We do a lot of team building, and we're excited because we've built these new classrooms, and we've got all these amazing resources that no one's had experiences of yet. So find us on New Forest Activities. And then also my new coaching brand is Train for the Future. You can find that on Facebook at the moment. I'm currently building up the websites and what have you for that. And Train for the Future has, as I was saying earlier, we've got a Facebook group that people can come into. There's a business support group there. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to be leading into a bit of a challenge that's going to hopefully put some of this, what I've talked about today, really onto paper, so people can follow it for themselves. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn. You can follow me on there, Sam Sutton on LinkedIn. That's the best way to find out about my work, really, and what I'm up to. Perfect.
And there is a lot of, you're putting some great content out in terms of help and resources. So people definitely follow also on Facebook, because it's very valuable, and kind of you're so all over kind of the current situation and the grants and everything. There's been some really useful and helpful advice. So thank you. And
it's all evolving. It's a moving feast, right? So we'll I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I've got some, like I said, some interesting projects coming up, and I'm going to show people what I'm going to do with my businesses, and that will hopefully give them a bit of a map to apply it to their businesses as well. So it's in spite of the losses and how business is, I'm actually very positive, because like I said, I can see the way through now. I can see the vision, and going to kind of live it out.
Yeah, awesome,
wonderful.
Thanks, Sam. I really enjoyed this.
Brilliant, lovely. Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Take care.